my faith and my work ethic is going to win 95% of the time. Texas has more teachers than any other state by 100,000.
Okay.
So for me to be the Texas State Teacher of the Year, I had to be 363,000 other teachers in the state of Texas. When it comes down to the final two, what I thought was going to happen was I was raised by my mother, who was married to a 100% disabled military vet who had schizophrenia, and he was not my biological father. And a lot of times when those demons or that illness would make him hear voices, the voices often told him to beat me. But when I think of my childhood and how it affects how I teach right now, like, I needed more. Everybody in school knew that I lived with the neighborhood crazy. I would literally hear teachers talk about me in the lounge and say, man, he's got a lot of talent, but he's not going to make it because he ain't got no help environment. And so that shapes the way I think about the whole child, and I go hard because I was a child that needed more and nobody gave it to me, and they knew I needed it.
Welcome back to Big Texas Boston. I'm your host, Leilani Wilson Jones. This is the show where we're spilling the Texas tea on the bosses that I know.
It's time for Big Texas Boston with Leilani Wilson Jones. Spilling the tea on Boston Up.
Today, please welcome my guest, Mr. Eric Hale, 2021 Teacher of the Year for the state of Texas. Welcome, Mr. Hale. How are you today?
I'm excellent. Thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you. Thank you. We're really excited that you decided to become a part of the show and do the interview today. And one of the things that I'd like to talk to you about is how you became the 2021 first Black male Texas Teacher of the Year.
I was destined to be the first Black man to do it based off of the trials and tribulations that I had growing up. And so those trials and tribulations ended up becoming my testimony. And so standing out as a bold man, but bold with my faith and with my works, it was meant to be. It's not by happenstance. When I decided to change careers to become a teacher, I don't do anything halfway.
Right.
And so I knew that before I was done teaching, that I was at least going to, win the district. But by the time I thought I was good enough to win the district, I was so much better than that award that I knew if I had an opportunity that I would win the Texas State Teacher of the Year. So I wasn't surprised at all that I won because I put the work in. And so I believe that workers win regardless of who you are attached to, who you're not attached to. My faith and my work ethic is going to win 95% of the time. Now, I was shocked that they allowed me to win the whole thing because the way it's set up, first off, Texas has more teachers than any other state by 100,000.
Okay.
So for me to be the Texas State Teacher of the Year, I had to be 363,000 other teachers in the state of Texas. When it comes down to the final two, what I thought was going to happen was they were going to allow me to win the elementary school Teacher of the Year. And then the middle school and the high school, they get a winner. And then they would have chosen that person because only one person gets to do all the stuff that's remembered and go to DC, meet the president, do all this, all of that.
Right.
The person who wins their category, I mean, it's cool. It's an accomplishment, but nobody remembers that person.
Right.
So that just shows you God. Like I expected one thing, which was going to be awesome,
Right.
but he gave me even more.
He did. Tell us a little bit about your journey. What made you on the right path for Teacher of the Year? So let's talk a little bit about your education and how you went from college, being a college graduate, to whatever career to being a teacher.
Well, for that, we had to start with my childhood.
Okay.
I'm from the Vale, is what we call it in Phoenix, which is right off the Stroll. It is the bad part of Phoenix where the Black people live. I grew up in a blue neighborhood, and I was raised by my mother, who was married to a 100% disabled military vet who had schizophrenia, and he was not my biological father. I didn't know that until I was, about 11.
Okay.
But needless to say, lived in and out of battered women's shelters. And a lot of times when those demons or that illness would make him hear voices, the voices often told him to beat me. And so me being the oldest, I would take that because I have my little sister is 9, 9 years younger than me. And then my brother, my half brother is, in the middle, about 5 years younger than me. That shaped who I was and how I look at education, because I went to a school. There was a failing school, and we're talking about generational poverty, but not just poverty from a resources standpoint, but from a soul standpoint, from a educational standpoint, where the expectation for the kids that look like me, it wasn't high at all. And so when I think of my childhood and how it affects how I teach right now, like I needed more. I needed help. And everybody in the school knew that I lived with the neighborhood crazy, because he would come up to the school and he would be talking to himself, and he would just walk the perimeter around the whole school all day long, like screaming my name or, talking to himself. And the cops would come and it was just like, oh, then I'd have to go sit with the cops, and then we'd go to a battered women's shelter. But I would literally hear teachers talk about me in the lounge and say, well, man, if he, his mother, the stress of dealing with that, it eventually led my mother to have a nervous breakdown, which led to crack cocaine. So I've heard them talk about me and be like, man, he's got a lot of talent, but he's not going to make it because he ain't got no help environment. And so that shapes the way I think about the whole child, and I go hard because I was a child that needed more, and nobody gave it to me, and they knew I needed it, and nobody advocated for me. Nobody fought for me. Nobody gave me any extra. I've been homeless in high school. That I would sleep on the slide at the same elementary school that they didn't help me, and just learned how to survive.
Right. Now, were your grandparents involved at all, or no?
Well, yeah. So what happened was eventually I was raised old school, kind of like that. What happens in this house stays in this house type of thing. Right. And so eventually the crack cocaine use got so bad that she really wasn't like feeding us.
Okay. So she wasn't the same person. She had kind of distanced herself from the family.
And they're both in there doing it. And so I'm, finding ways to make money to feed my brother and sister. And eventually I just broke down. I went back when we got payphones. I went to the payphone and I called my grandmother and I just told her everything. Right. It's first time. And that changed my life for the positive. That must have been like on Wednesday. By Saturday, she was down in Phoenix from Portland, Oregon. She packed up all of our stuff and she moved us back with her. But what's tricky about that is what a lot of people don't know, unless you've been to Portland, back in the 90s, the area where she lived was a rich historical area where all the blacks migrated. So all the blacks in Oregon basically live in an area that they call the NEP, which is Northeast Portland, which is down by where the basketball team plays. Okay. And Martin Luther King, black owned businesses. I moved there and was like,
culture shock.
I was like, everybody's black here. This many Negroes in Portland? No. Just in that 5-mile radius of Portland, the state's population of black people lived. Well, what happens with that? Well, of course, my grandma at this point, she's older and she's not doing her thing. It was actually worse for my mother because instead of having to drive from the west side, we were known more for like gang violence. But on the south side of Phoenix, it was gang violence and crack cocaine. We were gang violence and prostitution. They were gang violence and crack cocaine. So she used to have to drive way across town to get her rocks. But when we moved to Portland, the people my age were selling drugs across the street in a notorious park called Unthanked Park. So her addiction got worse. Oh, wow. Because she didn't have to travel to get it. And so then I dealt with fighting kids and stuff because in middle school, there were kids already selling drugs to my mother. Mm. And so, so that's how we get there. Eventually ran away to my grandmother's sister, my sweet Aunt Rose. And living in Portland was the first time that I had ever truly felt, I guess I would say, agave love.
Okay.
That was pure. My grandmother is basically like my mother, the way I view her. And my Aunt Rose was like the cool auntie that taught me about life and sex and females and allowed me to express myself as a young man.
Okay. Awesome. So how did you take that journey and go to college? Did you go to college right out of high school, or did you take a break, or did you go to the military?
Well, one of my greatest regrets is that my mother eventually got clean. But if you know anything about drug addiction, it does a lot to you personally. So even though she was clean, she harbored a lot of hatred towards me because she felt like I abandoned her, because I was always very mature for my age. So I would always look after my brother and sister. So even though I was like down the street from her, that freedom, that love, being loved on in a positive way,
right?
I never went back. Like I was free. Like I didn't go back and visit my mom at all. While she was doing her addiction, I was with my aunt, church, grandma, doing my thing. And so track is like a thing in our family.
Okay.
So I was like a track star. I was extremely good, like one of the best in the country.
What do you run?
I ran the 200 meter dash and the 400 meter dash.
Okay.
And then I anchored the 4x4. And so going into my senior year, my mom got clean and she moved back to the house in Phoenix. And I was getting scholarship offers in the area, but I didn't want to go to UW, like University of Washington, or, like Oregon, because Oregon wasn't, the Oregon that we know now.
Okay.
I wanted to go to USC, UCLA, back where I'm from, Arizona State. Okay. And I was like, if I can run this fast in all this cold weather and raining, what am I going to run if I go back home? But everybody said, do not go back, do not go back, do not go back. And that is there's only 2 times that I went against my grandmother. And so I went back, and it was a huge mistake because after 1 month, it went from, she wasn't doing crack anymore, but then the next thing that happened was alcohol. And so with the alcohol, she was I would say my mother was an angry drunk. And so those, that anger of how her life turned out, that anger of feeling like I left her when she needed me the most. And I felt like I'm the child.
Right.
Like that ain't fair.
Right.
And so being raised by 2 strong, wise Black women, I had anger towards her. So it was only a matter of time before we had a falling out. And then a falling out is a get out.
Okay.
And so that's how I ended up being homeless while I was in high school. And so I had to figure it out my senior year. And so I didn't run my senior year, lost contact with my scholarships, ended up moving with my best friend. I graduated from high school. And then the only thing I knew about was education. And I knew about education because of the Cosby Show and the spinoff, A Different World.
Okay.
And so I just rolled the dice and was like, man, I'm just going to keep going to school. And so I went to community college and I ended up winning Homecoming King.
Okay.
And that was a big deal because Black guy had never really won it. And, my grades were solid. And I was the Black student body president. The advisor was a lady named Miss Jones. Miss Jones pulled me to the side after one semester in the middle of the semester and said, you're too good to be here. You got too much talent. If I can get you into a real college, would you go? I said, yeah, I'd go, but I can't afford it. How can I? She said, don't worry about that.
Right.
This is how God works. She was the head of the alumni chapter of all of the West Coast for a small Black college, which is actually the first Black private school in America, 1856, Wilberforce University in Ohio. And it was just like the movies. She said, give me these grades. My report card hit. She had a plane ticket. She was a Delta. I landed and they literally had signs, Eric Hale. I had never even seen snow before. I'm out there in a jean jacket, freezing. Picked me up, got me to my dorm, had already set up my work study. So if I got there on Sunday, by Wednesday I was working, and I worked in the financial aid office. And It's just God.
Right. So
That's how I ended up in college.
Place. Wonderful. And that's a wonderful story. So let's fast forward. You graduate, and what's the next step?
I graduated from college feeling like, oh man, I got a degree. I'm about to be balling. I'm about to make six figures because I had this dream of the American dream. Hey, I reached it. I got a degree. I got a business degree. I hate the snow. I love my experience in college, but I hate the snow. Caught the first thing back to Phoenix. I get back to Phoenix. My mom gave me like pretty much the only thing she gave me in a long time. It was like my first month's rent for an apartment. And then the bombshell is my sister. Nobody told me any of this when I was in college. My sister ran away and basically got caught up into the sex trade before they had a name for it. She had my niece, Erica, at 13 and a half. The state took Erica, and I found all that out. And this is the second time that I went against my grandmother. Once I found out that she was named after me, I prayed about it, and I was like, this is God. People like me who have been through what I've been through, who still have scars on their body from abuse.
Right.
Who the only type of abuse that I haven't, thank God, went through was sexual. So I thought, because there was a woman who was 30 and took my virginity. I was 16. But as a man, you're trained not to view it that way. But now with the wisdom I have now, like, no, that's, right. She molested me.
Right. And that's an interesting topic. I mean, we could do a whole show with different men who've experienced different things at the hands of the babysitter. And I never thought, some of the things that I've heard that I would hear, but you're absolutely right. So, yes. So did you take Erica from that point? And then?
Yes. So literally, I graduated. I must have been like 22 and a half. I went into a custody battle because my mother's name in the state was so bad and my sister's name in the state was so bad. They had already moved Erica into like a foster family situation, and they were a mixed couple. And my Erica's very bright skinned, and she kind of looked like their kids, and they loved her, and they were going to adopt her. And so I would have to go see her almost like at a pound for children. Okay. And they made it very hard for me to see her. And I'm trying to work. It would be like at random times, like, hey, if you want to see her, you get an hour, come to this building from 10 to 11, knowing that, like, who can do that?
Right.
But I knew that God didn't let me make it out of what I made it, not to get her. And so what happened, I found out, was eventually after 6 months of this, the counselor lady said, I'm going to talk to you. She said, what's really going on? Why are you doing this? You know how many black babies we have in the system that nobody in their family wants? You are a single, handsome black man who just made it out the hood, who has a business degree with all your world in front of you. What's your thing? Are you a molester? Are you this or that? I was shocked at the way she talked to me, because she said that you're one in a million. Nobody does what you're doing or is attempted. And that's why we put you through the ringer. And I just broke down and I cried. I was like, why are you making it so hard? Like, why is it so unbelievable? I have an opportunity to change her life if you gave it to me. Then nothing happened. I would pick her up from the foster family. But the rule was we were never supposed to talk. So they just give them to you and you go.
Oh, you weren't supposed to
communicate with family. Yeah, where she was living. So, as things progress, I started getting on the weekend. And then instead of being like the little CPS office, it was with the foster family. So finally we had a talk, and I just spilled the beans of what was going on. And I've been trying to fight for them. And they were shocked because CPS was telling them that she didn't have anybody that could take her. And they didn't know that I was fighting for her. So once they found that out, they said, no, we're not going to adopt her. And within a week, they dropped my daughter off at my apartment, like a sack of potatoes. They gave me a little thing and said, here, you got 2 years free daycare. Here's some of her toys. And at 2.5, that's when I became a single father.
Okay. Beautiful story. Beautiful. And I'm glad that you were successful. How did you and Erica end up in Texas?
because I can only afford to live on the outskirts of the hood. So instead of like being in the area where like I could catch a stray, I could just hear them. So if this was the hood, my apartment's here. And it was God. And I did my research. I was like, where's the best place for a young Black man where there's middle-class Black people? It came down to Atlanta, some cities in North Carolina, Houston, and Dallas. I chose Dallas because it was closer to the West Coast, because all my family is from Phoenix, Vegas, LA, Oakland, like all West Coast.
All West Coast.
And so I felt like from a geographical standpoint, because Dallas was closer, that it would feel like more like home.
Okay.
Texas is on. I could have just went to Houston. And that's how I ended up here.
Okay. So you got in the car and just rode
backed up. I had paid my first month's rent. I was in, they changed the name, but I was in Park Ridge Place Apartments, which is in Los Colinas, right off of MacArthur Boulevard by the Krogers and TJ Maxx and all that right there. And those apartments are right across the street from this real fancy area, golf course, Hackberry Creek.
Right.
And that's where I moved.
Okay. Wonderful. When did you start teaching?
So that was 2008 when I moved here. I believe 2011.
Okay.
I was using my business degree. I was good at my job, but it was just a job. I hated it. I hated what I was doing. And I said, if I'm gonna be a good father, I want my daughter to look at me and have something that had like one title. So it was like policeman, fireman, teacher, something like that. And then teachers, they had their summers off, and it was just like something where I was like, you know what? I want to just do something, do it forever. It's respectable. And then I went and got my alternative certification. And that's how I became a teacher.
Altruist Home Healthcare is one of the top accredited home healthcare agencies servicing North and East Texas. With over 25 years of caring for Texas families, Altruist's network of staff has become the preferred provider of physical and occupational therapy, wound, post-surgery, and primary care within the comfort of your home. Altruist Home Healthcare works in conjunction with you, your loved ones, and your primary care physician to provide stellar care with honor and integrity. For more information on our services, visit our website, www.altruisthhc.com, or call us at 214-328-8600. Now back to the show.
What made you decide elementary school students?
Because the world doesn't wait to bombard little kids with negativity and trauma. And I needed it from jump. I needed a teacher like me in pre-K, probably.
So you were consistently thinking about
younger. They need to see me now.
Based on your past.
Based on my past.
Okay.
They always want to, if there's any Black male teachers, they always want us on the back end. And you can change their life. Some can. But my thought process is, I'm going to teach you the right way and give you that discipline, give you that knowledge, and raise you up the right way. Even from an academic standpoint, front load, get you smarter than you need to be. So as things get harder and you level out, you will always be where you need to be.
Okay. That makes sense.
And these kids need to see somebody that looks like them, or even doesn't look like them, that's giving them the love, the inspiration, that's giving them affirmations from the beginning of time that you are born royal, you are born worthy. And a lot of kids don't hear that. And so it's too late if you get a teacher like me in 7th grade when you're getting abused, you've been beat, you've seen your mama get hurt. It's too late. Okay. So they need to see somebody like me in the beginning. And so that's just my niche. That's how I view it.
Okay. So what was your first day of teaching like? And did you land at the elementary that you're at now, or?
No, God is funny. I don't think it's too far from here. I got hired. My whole life is like people taking a chance on me. I was in a program and I couldn't get hired because I wasn't fully certified yet. Right. So I was going on all these job things. And so finally I went to one for Dallas ISD and I got interviewed, and a white girl who was a teacher in Richardson who was trying to leave a school heard my interview, and she pulled me to the side and she was like, "Oh my God, you need to take my place." I said, "What?" She was like, "At my school, they don't need me. They need you." and she advocated for me. And that school is in Richardson ISD, but it's Richardson's ISD's little dirty secret. It's Thurgood Marshall Elementary School, which is right over here somewhere off of 635. Oh, 635 going the opposite way, Skillman and Ardelia. So if you know that area, there's like a real rough Denny's that you can see off the freeway.
Right. No,
it's the school that's literally right behind the Denny's. So that school, when I interviewed, it was black. She was beating the odds. They were doing good. Black lady principal. And I didn't know there's not many black people in Richardson. All my kids.
I came out of Richardson.
Okay. All my kids at Thurgood Marshall Elementary School were black. And I saw little black boys that looked like me.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, this is where I need to be. This is where I need to be. And so I went to the interview. She did not want to hire me, but the white girl was the team lead of first grade. And so she was like, I'll just do it as a solid. But I interviewed so well that everybody that was already on the team was like, we want him. We don't care if he's not certified yet. I don't care about him not having experience. That's what we want. So she hired me. She ran her operation like Fang. She was, y'all can believe it out, but she was on mine from jump. And I was just trying to figure it out.
Right.
And sometimes I'm not good with the details, but I'm very good with visualizing the steps and the final outcome.
Okay.
And I knew that I was going to take my experience and my love for music and things that I wish I had growing up into the classroom.
Okay.
But my teaching style looked so foreign to her that she hated it. So then the first time we did an assessment, I did horrible. We were like the worst. And
your kids were?
Yeah, my kids were. Well, we scored horrible.
Okay.
So doctor, I'll leave her name out, came to me and she was just like, yeah, I don't think you got it. I don't think this is for you. You probably should, after this year, quit. I'm not going to fire you because I know you're a single father and I respect what you're trying to do, but this ain't for you. One thing about me is I'm motivated when people say I can't do something, because in the grand scheme of what I've been through, this ain't shit.
Right.
Like the average stuff that people, you don't think, because workers win. So I knew,
right,
I'm going to figure this out.
Right.
And when I figure it out, not only going to be good, I'm going to be the best you ever had. And I'm never going to let you live it down how you made me feel as a young black man who nobody there could say. Because I would stay there with Erica until 7, 8 o'clock at night, rehearsing and had all my lessons together for 2 weeks out. She put so much pressure on me. And I was just like, I'm going to prove it to her. I'm going to get better. And so what happened was, at first they used to treat me like dead man walking, because she had a notoriousness of fire. Like the new people, you was going to make it or you didn't make it. And so they seen them come and go.
Right.
But because of my work ethic, it made certain people take pity on me and be like, man, but he loves his kids. He worked so hard and they respected it. Maybe she's not treating them right. So then the middle of the year exam hit. My kids scored the second best. Okay. So I'm walking around like, yeah, I can't wait to talk to you now. And she looked me in my face and she said, I don't believe you got lucky. Every dog has his day. I was like, ooh, okay. So at this point I knew, because your certification she could either say, it's my probationary year. She could either say, he's going to be a great teacher, sign him up. Or she could say, he's not good enough to be a teacher. Or she can say, he needs another year of probation. So at this point in the middle of the year, I hated her. I didn't like her. She didn't like me. So the gloves was off.
Right.
I'm in there with the music loud. I'm in there teaching and just throwing paint on the wall, trying to find my teaching voice.
Okay.
The end of the year, my kids scored we were like 98% passing. So like one kid didn't pass out of my 24 and we were the best. I looked at her and said, go ahead and sign it. Because my scores were so good, she couldn't say that I could never be a teacher.
Right.
But because she was so petty, she said that I needed another year of probation, because when I went to interview for other jobs, they're going to ask me, why didn't she sign off on you to just be a teacher?
Right.
So I'd have to answer that question. But it was, small thing to a giant, and I'm a giant. And so that summer, I said, well, I didn't make myself more marketable. So I got certified in special education. I just started calling schools in Dallas ISD. The school that I work at, the principal, she answered the phone and was like, oh, I need you for my SPED unit. They're going crazy. Come interview. I was like, well, let me give you time to get dressed. She was like, I don't care what you got on. Come interview. I interviewed, and me trying to be so prepared, I already had my file. So I had my scores and different things. I gave her my file. She said, wait, I had better scores than anybody that they had.
Oh, wow.
So even though she didn't have a position, she coded me as the SPED teacher and then fired somebody else and then moved me in their spot.
Oh.
So it was like I was a special education teacher on the file, but I was really a teacher. And I've been at the same school for the rest of my career, for my whole career so far.
That's awesome. Now, you've done some things. You go beyond the classroom, not only with your passion and what you do with your kids, but let's talk about some of the things that I heard you say. Well, let's talk about the playground first. What made you see the need for your kids to have $100,000 playground? And what made you say, I'm going to be the one to go get this money?
Some of the brightest minds come from the darkest places. And so when you can't choose your parents. And so I know that God designed me to be an example of what you can do with faithful mustard seed, what you can do with the power of prayer, what you can overcome and be the best at your profession. And I want my kids to dream. Like, I had no examples of college. But when I think about it, it's so odd for me because I'm on a physical level, like I don't dream. But even on a daydream type level, growing up, I never dreamed about college or like my career. I was always in survival mode. So I was like, well, I don't want to get shot. I don't want to go to jail. And I want to be a good person, but I never dreamed because nobody in my community had like, when I say real jobs, like a job that had like a name, like a teacher, a fireman. Like the closest thing we had was Dale's stepfather, and he was just the post office. You know, the UPS man, he drove the truck, and that was like a big deal. Like, oh, he has a career. And so I serve in the red light district of Dallas. We are the lowest zip code as far as like financial earners, but we are the highest zip code with registered sex offenders. We're right there off of Walnut Hill and Harry Hines, right where all the strip clubs are. If you hang out in my younger days, why I hate waiting for people for help. And I have examples of people in my life that had the Spirit of God in them, that when they helped me, they never wanted anything back. And they did it immediately. Not mouth. It was action.
Instant.
It was action. And so that's part of my creed, part of my brand. My brand is advocacy, accountability, and action. I'm gonna hold myself accountable to be the best, to help these children. I'm also gonna hold everybody else accountable because it's not me, it's we, like the community at large, the business community. We have to make sure this next generation is better, right? But I'm about action, actionable things. So in the last, I would say a year cycle, I've raised over 200 grand. So when I say this is what I'm doing it for, that's what I do it for. Like, you can touch it. And so I want my kids to know what it's like to have the best, not what the system thinks is good enough for them.
Right.
Or what's better than what they're normal, because I don't do nothing halfway. So as long as I'm in the classroom and I see needs that we need, if I claim to be the best, then I have to hold myself accountable to at least attempt to close that gap. And when I close it, I lock it because I'm getting the best of the best. I don't do nothing average. And so that's just the latest thing that I did. When people look at me and I come across cocky to them, but to a certain degree, I feel like what you keep what you kill, and workers win. If you don't like that I'm winning all the time,
sure,
based on my service to the community, then beat me, then outserve me.
Right.
Make more impact than me.
Let's talk about you, because I do have a passion for kids. I have daycares. I feed kids. I feed families. I do that as well. But let's talk about you feeding the kids and how that, because I was impressed that you feed a third of the school.
Yeah, I did. Last year.
Weeks, right?
Yeah.
And what's the plan this year? How are we looking?
Every year is a struggle. That company is the company that owns South Florida Mart. They did so much last year. And the CEO, who I had a great relationship with, he stepped away. but the people in place were the people that he hired. So they're still working with us. So we're trying to get that together, but that was like $11,000 to make that happen. So I will still feed my kids, and I do that on my own money. And even with that, everything's about relationships. So my realtor, her brother had 2 young children. And so maybe 7 years ago, I would tutor them. Out of the kindness of my heart, I would tutor them. And he was working his way up. And then God brought it back around. So now he's the store owner of like Sam's Club. He's like the head person. Nice. And so every year he was like, oh, I got you. So all of the food that I give my kids, which is very thought out. So it's 14 days. I want my kids to eat 3 meals. So I'm getting everything in bulk. None of this is used food. I go and I pick it out. Oh, wow. So it's like top. Cause I'm thinking, okay, what happens if they don't got a stove? What happens if the stove goes out? It needs to be something that they can pop it open. If they're staying at home by themselves, put it in the microwave, we can eat. So it's green, and I try to do it healthy. So as healthy as I can. So it's green beans, it's ravioli. They got their instant oatmeal. They got their snacks. They got their granola bars. They got their fruit cups. I try to think about like what's something that I can give them that they can have that's going to be like their dessert. And so it usually ends up to be about like almost like $300 per box,
nice,
per child. And so last year they were like, man, we love that. We want to do it. So now I was like, knowing the Hispanic community that I work in, they have a lot of children. Right. So I knew if I could get them to do a whole grade level, that's easily 40% of school, because there's so many, and they might have 4 or 5 kids in the same house. Right. Even though it wasn't specifically for their older brother, but it's plenty of food. Right. So these are like the big things where it's like 52, 44, like, oh wow, that level. So when I say like 10 boxes, might be like 1,000 items. And so they did the whole grade level. And I was out there, handing it out. I had everybody's roster, and they came, and the company was out there, and they came and they picked up their food, and that kept them fed for the whole Christmas break. Wow. And so that was last year, but I've been doing food and doing stuff. None of this is new. I was doing this before any exposure.
So what's next? Is there another thing on the horizon? Are we leveling up even more, or?
We're trying. We have basketball courts that are really messed up, and basketball is just not a thing in the Hispanic community. Right. So I want to get like, I think it's called like 5-on-5. It's basically like they create a little like indoor soccer facility, but on the top, it's like a chain net, and you can like lock it, and it's like AstroTurf. Okay. And you can put it anywhere. So I want to take out the basketball goals, and the size of it matches the dimensions of that, and they come and they build it. And so when the day's over, the custodian can come in and he can literally like lock it up. Okay. Lock it up. So, and even though it's open on the top, like it's like chained. So it's like they can't get in.
Gotcha.
So
how much is that you're raising?
I'm going to try to, because the district already told me they'll match me if I can do it. Another 50. Okay. I'm going to try to raise another 50. The district will match it, and then we'll get that going. And then after that, I think I'll be done, because last year I also, $42,000, I got a state-of-the-art computer lab. So I did the computer lab as well. And because I did the computer lab, it raised our school's scores higher. Oh, wonderful. Because we were using the little Chromebooks for the MAPS test. And the Wi-Fi was so bad that they would take a test and the Wi-Fi would drop. Then we got to re-enter them in the system. But these are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds. Like eventually, like they tuned out. So the scores weren't that good. So I said, oh, never again. So I also did that last year. So now we have probably the best computer lab. I know for a fact we got the best computers.
Did you all do anything about the Wi-Fi?
No, but the computers I got are so powerful that kind of like the Wi-Fi's in them, that it's seamless, and it's touchscreen, and it's big, it's beautiful. Nice. Once again, I don't do nothing average. So I researched with help from the computer guy, and he was like, you got way more power than you would need for what's going to be on there. But I wanted to push out the technology and get the best technology I could for the money that it needed to cost per computer.
Right, right. Well, that is awesome. Is there anything else you'd like the viewers to know about you?
don't let a couple of bad chapters in your life stop you from writing the most beautiful novel that the world's ever seen. I am somebody that had a extremely bad opening chapters of my life. And God bless me in the middle and going forward has been beautiful. It is not where you start. It's where you finish. Workers win. Keep pushing. It takes faith of a mustard seed, and there's power in prayer because you are looking at it. If you don't get nothing out of this, pray. Everything that you need, God has already put inside of you. And if he hasn't put it inside of you for you to be successful, he's put it inside of the person sitting next to you that's your friend. So you got everything that you need. You're worthy. You were born royal. And that's it, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so the question that I have, I'm a huge fan of Abbott Elementary. Do you watch?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, so
I love it.
of Mr. Eddie. So I read a few things about you, and you say we need to get more Black male teachers.
You need to send Black men that look like me out to do the recruiting. I've talked to a lot of young men that were interested in being educators, but to be honest with you, a lot of the Black men that they highlight in our profession, I would say the general population of Black men who are thinking about taking that leap, they don't share the same experience. They're very mousy men. They're very, I would say, we'll just say they come across a little bit not as masculine, not as bold as I am. And this is things that those other young men have told me. I don't see anybody like me, or they view them like the Black men I do see that teach, they kind of seem like Uncle Tom's. And when they get to meet me and they research me and they see my TED Talks and I'm DJing in the classroom and they're like, you can do all of that in education? Yeah, you can. And you don't have to come from a lily white upbringing. And you don't have to go to school for education. I'm changing all those norms. And so having different types of Black men that are in education go do the recruiting will bring some in.
My nephew is a teacher. He's an elementary school teacher. He ended up special education, and he's certainly not as bold as you, I would agree, to that fact. But one of the things that he's encountered in the teaching is just the whole process, and I guess the principles that you all deal with, and just the things that you run up against. And he wasn't prepared. He had taught in the Fort Worth ISD, and he just wasn't prepared for the hood school, so to speak, and the dynamics that came with those students. Now he's teaching, I don't know if it's Arlington or Dallas, but it is an elementary school, but they have him in special ed. And his only incentive that I know of is that it's easy because you have the days off. You have so many days off, and you do, it's not a hard job. It's 8:30 to 3 unless you have duties and stuff. So I don't know if the mentors are there. Of course, we have a lot of Black females in education, but as far as the Black males who are there and trying to entice them to stay once they're there, outside of the salary and the benefits, that go with it, so you can do something else. It just didn't seem like it had a lot to offer.
It doesn't. It's definitely not attractive because there's not a lot of Black men, and so when you hear the whole only 2%. That's a lie. It's actually like less than 0.5% if you're talking about content. Now, there's a lot of Black men in education if they're the social studies teacher, but they're only doing that because they're the head football coach or they're the PE teacher.
No, he's just, I'm not going to say just a special ed, but he's special ed. That's what they assigned him to. He has a college degree. He did go on to get his teaching certificate. He's a businessman outside of that. And so it's a convenient job, I would say.
He's got to find his why. And that your why will push you towards your purpose. And then once you find your purpose, you'll be able to step into your greatness and there'll be power in it. It's easy for me to connect because of the stuff that I went through. Like I was made to do this.
Right.
Some people aren't.
Right.
So if he's not, but has a green thumb when it comes to money, there's nothing wrong with him teaching and doing what he's doing on the side, as long as he's still mentoring and showing the world a strong, young, educated Black man. Just his presence is raising the scores. And You never know what life's going to have in front of him. There might be a child that's going to prick his heart and change the way he thinks about his practice. And he could end up being better than me. You don't know.
Right.
You don't know that. But we definitely got to do better with mentorship of
We do.
the next generation.
Absolutely.
And a better variety of the mentors, because they try to have a mentor for me, but I couldn't relate. I was just like,
Right. It doesn't work if you can't relate to your
no,
mentors.
it's like, I would never hang out with you outside of, like, they should have knew better. Like, I was just like, yeah.
You were insulted.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I was like,
Right.
really? I was like, that's not me. Like, why would you even remotely think?
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. You do such a wonderful job. So thank you. Thank you for the Dallas community, and thank you for all that you do. Thanks for tuning in to Big Texas Bossing Podcast. If you like these conversations, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on all social media platforms at Big Texas Bossing. Tag us on social at #BTB.